ACL, MCL, and partial meniscus tear, and that was during my week of fall camp. So never even played a down in it because I continued the dream of playing ball, but I gave it up for the ministry of God.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to another amazing episode of Behind the Doer, where we spotlight and find amazing sports leaders and coaches. But not only do we spotlight them, we talk about the real behind being that doer, the challenges, the ups and downs. And I'm so excited because I got a real one on here. My guy, my boy, Mr. Josiah. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that name too, because we were just talking about it. So y'all definitely gotta get some information and backdrop on that. But as always with my guests, have you checked on you today?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I have not checked on Boom, but I will say I've been in different meetings, different spaces where I've been fed. So it's not always just today, but Wednesday, as busy as it is, I always find time to be fed as well because I have to put out so much throughout the week. So Wednesday's a heavy day for me to get fed in.
I love it. I love it because part of this platform is about self-care. It's about emotional intelligence. And you was able to bring that, as you said. Yes, you just haven't sat down and took that minute or two for you, but you got fed something positive into you. And that's another thing. As being a sports leader, you're constantly running, but what are you getting pulled back into you? Like you pour out so much, just as you just said, but you still got to get poured back into as well. So I love that. I'm glad you hit on that so people can take that as well. And going into that, like you said, people are always pouring into others, but also you're a man of fire. So tell these people about your name right quick before we jump into everything else. Just get them a little bit about your name and where it comes from in the background.
Yeah, man. So my mother named me Ernest. Dad did too because it came from his name. So I'm the third. So my grandfather's name is Ernest Henry. My father's name is Ernest Gregory, and I'm Ernest Josiah. So is Jasmine Monique, and she point of her life, and her stage name was J Monique. So with her being the oldest, I'm like, man, you know what? That's pretty cool. So what would E Josiah mean? Because I'm already when you say Ernest in the household, three people looking like it's already a lot of roll with E Josiah. Then I started looking at what does the word Josiah mean? What does the name Josiah mean? And it literally means fire of God. So that's where I've adopted sister. And I said, you know what? I want to lead with that. I want to acknowledge the E, but also have the Josiah where people have to acknowledge that just the fire that exists inside of me through just the gifting of the Holy Spirit, man. So that's where the name E Josiah came.
Come on now, fire God. Y'all don't play with this man here. We bring it all out. I'm sure all the other episodes you've been on, they ain't brought that out. So, we're going to pat on ourselves on the back for that. So, love that, man. I wanted to make sure we started off really in detail with you bringing it out to people, leading into also teacher, former coach, definitely fire. You've done a lot and you're doing a lot. But what made you grow back and say, okay, now it's time for me to start into the turn of where I'm at now and what you're doing? So what we're doing now is just prepping the people of what you used to do, and then we're going to come back to it now.
Yeah, so I ended up getting my degree inside of criminal justice. I was pursuing that. I was playing sports. So my father, grandfather, uncle, all of them are inside of some form of law enforcement or military. So that in my mind as a young person, I'm like, man, I want to help my community. I always had a heart to serve. So I was like, shoot, let me become a federal agent, right? So somebody with a football, I'm finna chase bad guys, right? Profession, but at the end of the day, I felt like I was helping people. But then I was like, man, in the police department, and if I still want to go down this road, I want to make sure that I equip myself with the tools that I need to be able to not only survive in this profession, but supplement it. So I declared a minor in organizational communication because I was like, man, people just don't know how to talk to folks. Like you can get somebody to do what you need them to do, all about how you deliver the information, right? So I ended up getting hurt on the football field to my first year inside of college during the second week of fall camp. So never even played a down at a game. Ended up working my way through that transition while also preparing to meet God or for God to meet them where they were. So it was already existent by them, but I charted it ministry. And And what I was able to accomplish through that was it helped with the retention rates of the university, where a lot of people drop out of college because they don't know how to manage the stress that happens. And my coach, that pressure is for people that's not prepared. So I was like, man, if I can prepare people to know that, hey, stress is coming, but it's all about how you manage it. Obstacles are coming, and from a spiritual dynamic to equip them, I was like, man, let me do that. So while I was developing myself on the football field, while I was recovering from this injury along the way, as I was figuring out life, right? So ended up getting the internship to oh, like, but I'm glad I was exposed to it because the internship was with the United States Postal Service. So they're like the FBI, but on the male side of things. Super exciting job, or boring, depending on how you look at it. But I privatized. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I had a job getting going right out of college. I was like, man, I can't do this. So then I said still have a heart for graduated, and just imagine graduating with a degree, and you have a heart for children, but then everything shuts down, right? So I got a job on campus while declaring to go for masters, and I like a job came for teaching because it was a teacher shortage. So I said, okay, bet. Wanted to be a motivational speaker. They're closing the doors off for anybody outside, but how can I still impact people? I was like, man, let me be a teacher. So I taught the first year with no training. Ended up getting first in the second year as I was the outstanding middle school educator of the year award. So then that's like 2 years of my first 2 years of teaching, winning awards, and then God called me back to Birmingham because I was in Kentucky, and I was like, okay, like literally finished 1 year, did a lot of phenomenal things from just working inside this school district because they were a charter school. They were fairly new, and it was room for a lot of innovativeness going on. So anytime the innovative idea I had, it was good soil to plant, and the firepower behind the school district, they immediately saw the return on it. So different phenomenal things there. And then that's when I entered my fourth year teaching, and I separated from education space. And that's when I got into teaching financial literacy inside the schools. But what that did was it separated my time commitment to go ahead and start doing things that I'm passionate about. Out of all those years of teaching, I was coaching football first 2 years while I was an award-winning educator, led the defense from a defensive coordinator standpoint to the state championship. Both years we ended up losing, but we won the area. So it's just like, seeing the return on that from an athletic standpoint, I knew that I had a pull for athletes. I've had touch time with the game in every area except for being a parent of an athlete, player,
Mhm.
coach. Like, so it's just like, man, I've even been in areas where I was the trainer to the athletes, so I've touched the game in every aspect. But it's like, man, I from seeing the
Mm.
return that I'm thankful in, because my favorite player while coaching was the person that was the most improved. They always had something in my heart because I knew that they had the work ethic that would be transferable to every area of life. So I took that and I was like, man, let me develop a book. So I wrote a book about my process, ended up publishing that. And I said, man, everybody not gonna read. Then it was like, okay, let me develop a podcast to amplify the voices of other people that have had touch time with athletes, but also get their story out there because my story is just a tip of the iceberg because it's too big of a problem. And I was like, dang, I got a podcast, but what about the psychological frameworks? Then God made it to the way where I was able to be on the TEDx Alabaster stage. So I was like, okay, I'm on the TEDx stage that positions me as an expert to be able to lead a charge on how to develop frameworks for athletes transitioning successfully. And then I was like, man, if I'm on this much exposure, I need a business to be able to serve as a landing for people to get more value. So out of one act of obedience of stepping out of my comfort zone of working like what you would call, I mean, that's not even a 9 to 5. That's like a 6 to 9. Like, because working as an educator, you have all these that you're dedicated to
Every
your
day.
mission. So, yeah, man, that's how I got to where I am now, to where like I'm still having touch time with the students from a financial literacy standpoint, but becoming a CEO, founder of psychological framework standpoint, it's been a phenomenal, rewarding journey.
You can definitely tell just your passion for it and how you talk. I wanted you guys to listen to and also give you that opportunity just to get everything out there because a lot of people start right where You started playing sports. Okay, you went to college. But what I wanted athletes, especially young male athletes, to hear that he said in the beginning, he had a time where all these tears, he said several alphabets, ACL, MCL, all these different things happened, but he still got back up and continued, and so many other things that he touched because sometimes we can see different things as failure, like, oh my God, I'm out. But because of that, God opened so many other doors. You
Mm-hmm.
said from there, from the mail, from the teaching, all that. It was different things you would not have been able to vision if you would not had a time where you had to break down and say, okay, God, what you want me to do.
Yeah.
And I think as so many athletes, we look at it one all, but you didn't look at it one all. You had to open your eyes and see everything else,
Yeah.
especially Ransom. If you can kind of explore more and tell people a little bit more about that, we're going to go back. I think that it's a highlight. I've heard of it at UAB also being a blazer and see some of the amazing students that's a part of it. So for some of the students, it was like, hold on, what did he say? Can you explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, so ransom is it's an acronym for when I first got to college, I developed my own identity. And my identity was not trying to be on God time. So I was like, man, I'm finna
Mhm.
be in parties, finna be in the clubs, I'm finna be the person. And one thing I always tell just young people and even adults is that, your anointing not going nowhere. You can be anointed for the kingdom of God or the anointing for the kingdom of just deception and the kingdom of darkness, right? So I found myself being very successful at being that guy that was the life of the party. But when you're
Mhm.
very successful in something, that means that you believe in it such in a way that you plant a seed. So I was seeing the fruit of being successful in the kingdom of darkness, and I ain't want it. So I ended up
Mhm.
semester my freshman year, man. I was just like, man, but I was like, hey, I'm finna live it up. But then I was like, man, I don't have the finances to go. You know, even though I was on the full scholarship, I'm like, nah, I don't have the resources to really go. So I went home and I heard about this school, and there was somebody that brought me to just a ransom gatherings. I was the youngest person in there. I always saw these NFL players, big old dudes, is worshiping God. I'm like, dang, bro, like, is this what you like turn to on the football field? Like it was a guy named Jeremy Towns. He said, man, I love God so much that whenever I run into somebody, I pray that they feel a supernatural being to where they encounter God when I tackle them and realize that He's not of this world. So whoever is empowering him, I want that. So he was like, whenever he hits somebody, they may feel pain, but they'll also feel the conviction of God that God
Mhm.
is with them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, dang, they talking like this, bro. Maybe I don't need to refer back to the anger that was fueling me on the football field. Maybe I need that, because so I was like, Bible study at UAB doing that second semester of my freshman year. I said, man, we need that at Murray State. And I talked to some of the campus leaders at UAB, and I said, hey, like y'all can send a representative up there, like to send somebody up there to start it. They said, oh yeah, they ain't how this work, big dog. Like you would have to do it. And I was like, oh, nah. So I was like, okay, duly noted. When I got on the phone with a guy named Jeremy Towns, he was like, oh yeah, you ain't serious, big dog. And the dog in me was like, no, I ain't serious, bro. You ain't finna tell me I ain't serious after I told you we need this. So my pride is what I led with, and I didn't know what I was agreeing to. So when I got back to Murray State, still went out to the parties and everything because when you forget about just the emotional response, it didn't get inside you.
Hey.
So I was like, man, you know what? I had a friend that was going through a hard time. We were sitting outside of the cafeteria, and I said, hey, I started ministering to her because that's what was in me, but it just came out. And she was like, man, more people need this. E. I was like, what you mean? Oh, she was like, yeah. I'm like, bro, we were just in the club last night though. You know what I'm saying? Man, I ain't trying to hear from no perfect person that's authentic inside they walk with God, but they also are selfless enough to tell other people about God. And I said, whoa. I was like, all right. So I started the Bible study. It started off with 6 people. Then it ended up being 15. Then it got up to 32 at the semester because I started it like towards the end of the semester. Last one we had about 45 people. So I saw exponential growth because anything I put my hands to, I just believe that God is going to bless it. It's almost like you have a green thumb inside the kingdom of God. So I saw the exponential growth, end up getting in the registered organization on campus, and then just that's when the floodgates started opening up. And I can't mention that story without telling the end of it. So once I made it back on the football field, I ended up having 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 3 tackles, and no, three pass breakups and four tackles doing one spring game with limited reps. So that shocked the coaches, but it wasn't enough to keep my scholarship because they already had written me off from making a full time recovery from the injury. So they met with me a week later, said, "Hey, we don't want to, give you any more scholarship money. We think that you can earn it back or you can transfer." I had agreed to become the adopted Murray State son of somebody that was on the board of regents, Susan Guest, and she advocated for me. She met with the president of the university, the athletic director, and three other um, board of regents that called me into their office inside the library and said, "Hey, we heard about your situation, but we also heard about your impact on campus, and we think that you would be too valuable to lose from the university. So we're gonna honor your scholarship in full if you keep your grades up and keep impacting people off the field. But if you choose to transfer and play elsewhere, the scholarship isn't on the table, of course." So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna stay here long enough just until somebody takes over the Bible study, and then I transfer and keep on playing ball." So I kept practicing, kept well, not practicing, but working out, keep my body up. And that day never came, and I finished out my degree without ever playing another down to football. I had to submit my will to God's will because I
Mm.
wanted to continue the dream of playing ball, but I gave it up for the ministry of God.
Oh wow. My. That is a whole story in itself and a whole to put out there. I always like to be reflective, you guys. As y'all hear, he said that being on campus and being an athlete and also serving God doesn't mean you have to be perfect. We want to get there first. He
Mm-hmm.
said, someone speaking to a friend said, being authentic. Because we'll never be perfect enough for God. We are God's children, but He's always washing us of our sins. So we want to make sure we understand, because there's a lot of you probably watching be like, hey, I want to do that. I've seen people cry out, but I know I go to the club. I know I do this. God is not asking you to be perfect. He's just asking you to be you.
Can
So we want to make sure again. Go ahead. Come on now, jump in.
Because like during that season, I was ashamed of it. You know what I'm saying? But now that you say that, like I was leading campuses, like I was leading people to Christ on this campus, but I go to like another campus. They ain't know me, so I still be feeding my flesh that because it's like I that was one part that I never really fully gave out the God. So I was still being obedient by doing it, but then I would go to other campuses because they ain't know me. I want to protect the what do you call it? I want to protect my reach and
Mm-hmm.
my rapport that I had with the things I was building on campus, but I was still feeding that wild lifestyle. And of course, like and sin always has a distant cousin. So it's like some things that I ain't never gonna do. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it was one thing inside of sports. I said, "Man, I ain't finna drink." Because I didn't want that in my body while I was playing. And now that I got out of playing, it's like, do I still hold on to that principle? Was that principle associated with that game, or was it associated with me? So now that the game was removed, there was a lot of things that I was dealing with from a healing standpoint that I was reverting back to. Because a lot of things was like, I was like, man, I want to be on the field, and I saw the transaction immediately. That's one thing about playing sports. Like, you can put the work in of getting faster, and then you record that time, you see you got faster. But in life, it's not always transactional like that. Sometimes you got to wait for a seed to grow, and then you see the actual result. So I was struggling with that inside of my head from a psychological standpoint. So I was still supplementing the thing that I didn't want to fully give over to God. Still having sex. You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, I was in a place in my life where I said, "Man, I ain't finna be no hypocrite though." Like, if anybody would have ever find out I was out here partying or still having sex, I promise you, and I put on everything I love, you can't pull back a film right now where I talked about somebody else having sex, and I said you should not be doing that. But one thing
Mm-hmm.
that it did was I robbed people of the opportunity of deliverance because I wasn't fully willing to give it to God, and they was banking on my delivery to be able to deliver them a message, but I was the gatekeeper to that message because I
Come on.
didn't allow God to arrest those things inside of my heart. So I did want to like communicate that because we can talk about the before, after, but we don't talk about the during of that tug and pull of turning your life all the way over to God.
No, I thank you. I thank you for providing that because they needed to hear that. Like you said, it's a tug of war. And it doesn't stop. just because you say, Lord, I give it all to you, it's still a constant tug of war in life, because it's going to go from the sports, for some, to marriage. And it goes. Every part of your life is going to be some form of tug of war on that part that you're gearing to. And as we say, tug of war, now we want to get to the sports. How was that? Because I heard you say being an athlete as well as drinking. And what happened is, in sport, who we are in between sports, because sports is our everything. But you got to a point where sports was no longer there. You wasn't able to play that anymore. So what happened to you in that mindset where this kid that plays sports now at college, and you know it's not gonna happen? What
Yeah.
happened in there?
Um, I never really knew it wasn't gonna happen. Like, because there was always an opportunity to keep on playing the game. Like, so it's almost like when you know you can't eat Skittles no more, you gonna see what them Starbursts talking about. If you can't eat
Mm-hmm.
Starburst no more, you gonna see what them nerds talking about, right? So it's like, okay, if I can't do this, then I'm still gonna see how I can supplement that sweet tooth of what's available to me. So when I ended up transitioning out, I said, okay, I started looking at the rules, because one thing that men do, only speak for men, we love to look at logic. So when our emotions are all over the place, it's like, no. Let's look at the logical sense of that. So I knew that if I played like inside of the sport, so I was a red shirt sophomore when I separated from the game. So I knew it being a red shirt sophomore, I knew that my clock was gonna run out if I continued to play on the D1 level. But if I were to go down to D2, then my clock would have had stopped at a red shirt sophomore season. So right now, if I choose to enroll inside of Tuskegee University, if they change the rule, I don't know, with NIL and all this type of stuff, I can still enroll and still play the football, because my clock would have stopped at a red shirt sophomore at a D2 level, because I would have went down a level. That's if they change the rule. So I was banking on that. I said, man, I don't care if I graduate. I'm gonna play football. Then COVID happened. It's like, man, I don't, man, COVID, all these different rules and all these stipulations. Then they canceled the season during the fall, then played in the spring, and I'm still trying to figure out how. I was like, man, this is too complicated. And I realized that whenever something has become eerily, I'm talking about weirdly complicated, and God has not empowered you to make it through that after
Mm-hmm.
you done
Mm-hmm.
prayed, and he said, man, I need to go ahead and stop fighting for my own will and submit to his. Practical standpoint. From the other standpoint of just my knee, like, I knew what it was. So like, if you've been injured, and if you still got a little bit of play in your knee, you still know if like your ankle ain't all the way healed. But it's like, man, I need this to get to that. So I was to get a free education. So then I got the free education, got honored that, and I was like, okay, why am I still playing? And I would have been still playing from a hurt standpoint, not from a physical standpoint, from an emotional standpoint. It's like, man, without this game, bro, I used to make deals with God. I used to be like, man, God, if I don't drink, if I don't smoke, I don't put anything that will alter my way of like viewing the world, or allowing me to put out the best product out there. I want you to give me the tackles that I put out on the stat sheet. I need you to give me the
Wow.
scholarship. Like, I'll be like, hey, God, I'm not like I'll be like, okay, it's Monday through doggone Thursday, but Friday and Saturday I'm powering back up, God. I through obedience, I want you to give me this. So there was a lot of things that I had order in, and it was surrounded around the game. Now it helped me during that season, because I ain't getting in trouble out the field. I didn't join gangs. Like, my time was too taken up, so it was good for that season. But transitioning it now, when you take that, it's like, what out of that game did I want to take with me? It didn't feel good. Like, but when you have the answer to authority of a coach saying like, "Hey, you need to be here at this time," you're gonna go to sleep at a certain time because you want to be your best. But now without that structure, it's like, okay, do I want to get up at early or not? Do I want to go to the gym or do I not? Do I want to control my diet or do I not? Do I want to pray to God or do I not? So all these different things I was struggling with, and a lot of those things I said I don't want to do it because I don't feel like doing it, and I've never saw the consequences of not doing it because I've been doing this since I was 5 years old. So
Mm-hmm.
then I started getting the consequences of what it looked like, and I said, this ain't what I want. And now it's like, this is the one I want. How can I create that same level of structure in my life from a framework standpoint where I do want to wake up? Motivation didn't work. Listening to these motivational videos, I do it for 2 days. And every time it's ain't finna get me up that third day. You see what I'm saying?
Come on now.
So I'm like, man, I used to be crying in the gym. Like, I'd be like, yeah, let go. And I was just like, dang, bro, I'm getting strong, but I can't hit nobody no more. What I'm getting stronger
Yeah.
for? Like, I mean, I care about how I look, but I want this aggression to come out. I want to hit somebody again. I want to score a touchdown and people cheer. So that's the type of strain that I was going through from a mental standpoint of saying, like, why do I do the things that I do, and how can I get a result from it, and what does that look like?
So how did you change that mentality and emotion though to the person you are now? Again, you guys always reflective of him saying that at a point of time that game is going to end. And when it ends, you're gonna have to deal with that fallback. And all of us as athletes, I know I was one of those who ones too that cried like a baby after JUCO, like what's next? And I had to push myself. I continue to go to school because, like you say, school is your vehicle to that next level. So when it's gone, it's like, what else do you lean into? So what are the things that you did to say, okay, motivation ain't working, ET ain't working, all this ain't working, but I still know I'm that man. I'm that fire guy. So what was the transitions things that you did to get yourself where you are now?
I had to get to a quiet place. So I had to get away from people asking me what my plan B was. I had to get away from people, and these people that love me, want the best for me, but it was too much noise where I couldn't hear from even reasoning with myself. Like, what do I want? Like, I know what they say they want for me, but it's like, what do I want? So I had to get into a quiet place, and I was just like, man, you know what? I said, man, I want to help people. And I was like, okay, what problem do I see around that I wish I could solve? Now I start seeing my teammates beating up on their wives. Start seeing my teammates be at jobs and then get fired because they can't show up on time. Where I used to see them in the weight room, I'm like, bro, like you used to squat the most, but you can't bench press life. Start seeing people like commit suicide. Start seeing people die because they didn't transition the right way. But then I start seeing like around me, and I'm like, bro, I got all the tools I need, man, to solve this problem. And I really do
Yeah.
believe that, what is a stronghold for somebody else from a burden standpoint could be an opportunity for you to serve if you shared that burden with them. So I learned the aspect of getting inside of the mess of other people while I've been empowered to help guide them out of it. But I had to deal with my own story to figure out how and what tools do I need. So that's where the book came from. The first chapter of my book, like after the preface, that introductory chapter, which is the pregame, that's chapter one. I name my chapters after pregame, first down, second down, third down, fourth,
Yeah.
then touchdown, and then overtime. Right. So all of this terminology is coming from just a place of sports because that's what I had to heal from. So inside of the pregame, which is the preface, I ended up writing a love story at the top of the stadium at Murray State during 2019 when I could no longer play the game. And I wrote it as like just me writing out my feelings. I'm like, man, I need to write a love letter to the game. So I wrote it out. Then years later, God said, man, take a look at that again. Are you still in that same headspace? I said, no, like I feel like I'm figuring it out. He said, okay, write a revelation on it. So I wrote a revelation on how I made it through that time point. And he said, okay, how did this all begin to you? And I was like, dang, man, my favorite story was about this. So I wrote out that story, and he said, okay, what did you learn from that story? So I just kept on writing. And as I was reflecting, I was also teaching. So I was
Yeah.
like, man, this is a whole book, bro. So I just kept on writing for 5 years, getting distracted from teaching and coaching, didn't have the time to do it. But after I stepped away from all that, that's when I was able to sit with myself again from that transition, like from sports. And then I was like, dang, this is what I need to do. Like I had everything I needed to become a speaker, to become an author, to become a business owner. All this stuff was downloaded in me during COVID, but I wasn't able to act on it until 5 years later. So it's like that's how I was able to manage and get through that by literally looking around me, seeing who all was suffering, looking within myself, and seeing what answer do I have to solve that problem, and then that's what ordered me to go ahead and start solving the problem through the things that I do now.
Come on now. Through helping other people, God allow you to help yourself.
Yeah.
And that's just so amazing that, some of us, I know I'm one of those ones that people come to me, a lot of friends and family, and I'm helping. I had to start looking at it. And I used to ask God, God, why are you allowing me to help people? I'm struggling and going through my own.
Mhm.
And he's like, you can't help other people walk through the fire. You ain't never been through the fire. You can't help people understand unless I put you through it. And so with helping, I want to go into the coaches. Going into the coaches during your time when you was playing sports, because this is for sports leaders and coaches. And it's good for coaches to understand and listen to this. Like, sometimes they're only working for a check. They're not thinking about what a student is going through. And you was going through a whole 360.
Mhm.
But coming there being a player, them seeing you a spotlight person, you're going through all this. So what do you wish that coach or those sports leaders would have done to help you out in your process as you was going?
I wish coaches would take the time to heal from their own athletic stories. I wish they would. I've seen a lot of former athletes jump right into coaching after as a way to heal, but if they don't do the inner work, they're going to start projecting to the other athletes. So that means that, if you're coaching out of a hurt space, you're not going to be able to pour healing and navigate the younger generation on how to navigate through their hurt. So it's literally trauma being dumped down onto a next generation of more trauma. So that's why we haven't seen a transformative outlook on the game of football, the game of track, the game of basketball, because you have people that have gotten into these professions while projecting on these younger generations, and it robs both of the opportunity to truly respect the game and what all it can really give to you. So I think it goes deeper than showing up for a paycheck, because I really do believe that a lot of coaches, more than not, they really do love the game. Like, they really do. But the thing is, when you love the game, that's not loving you back. You knew it from a player standpoint. You knew it from a coaching standpoint. So if you're putting all this love into the game, you forget about the human that makes the game work. So it's like the next man up. Somebody get hurt, man. Next man up. Go over there. We don't need you. Or you bad attitude. I don't got time to deal with that. So we finna do it. I'm like, no, like, there's different things inside this game that you can use to develop every single aspect of trial that this athlete encompasses with this game. So if they got a bad attitude, there's programming within, and there's also grace, more grace that coaches have than teachers have than parents have, than to deal with a bad attitude. If you steal, there's a certain grace that a coach can have to invoke some level of pain to this athlete without putting a hand on them. You're the liaison between consequences and a person's action or an athlete's action. And it's all about how you cater those moments, those little moments where you have to separate your own agenda as a coach to win games, or to have some level of success and recognition as a coach, to be able to help athletes work through that. And if great teams have this figured out, because if you build up the player, they become a better man, they become a better woman. But if you don't, you could become a better player without. Hold on, you could become a better person without having the value of a player. But that better person is going to become into a better player. But if you build up that player in a
Now
way,
we gotta run back. We gotta run back on that because we're gonna
yeah,
explain that to
let's
them. We're
do it.
gonna run
Let's
that
do it.
back and
Let's do it.
explain that one.
Okay. So if you become a better person, that will immediately show up in everything that you do, like with sports, at home, doing these things. But if you become a better person while forgetting about the human side of yourself, that better player doesn't translate in every other area of your life. So, from a
Hmm.
coach's mindset, your priority should always be the human. It should always be the person that you build up. And then you start looking at the transaction from a game standpoint.
Come on.
So yeah, that's what I think coaches need to understand, how to value the person instead of just the player.
I love it. I love that breakdown of it, of going back, of valuing the human first, transaction of everything else later. Would you say something that you did a lot during your time of coaching and with the other coaches that you was with? Did you guys kind of build that framework?
I'll say this. There was a time where It was two young guys that were the most problematic inside the school, but they was on the football team. And I said, man, I'm gonna take them under my wing. And I said, hey, I'm stamping y'all as my mentees. If y'all mess up, that means I'm messing up. Don't embarrass me. There'll be some time where they mess up because they kids, right? But it's like putting that pressure on them to adopt some of the things that I'm saying it at an accelerated rate. They didn't want to let me down. So even when they
Yeah.
did let me down, I was like, man, it's okay. Like, but I'm still laugh with you, play with you, but go ahead and hit these rolls. Go ahead and roll this field, right? While I'm still joking and all that type of stuff, right? So then I was like, man, they need exposure out of what they see. So they see in the hood. They seeing their mama struggling. They're seeing literally. There was a point where I called one time and the mother was doing things to make money. If you catching
Hmm.
what I'm saying, she was doing what she had to do to pay the bills. And she said, "Coach, why are you interrupting me right now? But you called twice. I got an answer. I need to get back to do what I need to do." So
Mm.
I said, all right, I'm just trying to see when I need to pick up your sons so I can take them to this college to get exposure. Because I was literally going on the speaking engagement. I took them with me out of my own resources, out of her blessing, but she forgot about it. So then she was like, why are you doing this for my sons? They don't deserve this. Like, what you want from them? You want some? So she started turning her aggression towards me, but I knew out of maturity that it was really because she was frustrated with the current life that she had exposed them to. So I'm like, hey, I just want to take them out of it for a few hours. And then when I return them, I'm returning a portion of the man they are to become every single time they leave my presence. That's the belief system and the extra that you have to do from a coaching standpoint because you're discipling young men. It just ain't about the game. You have a little bit of a touch time, but you gotta go into their hood. Like you gotta go into it may not be the hood on every player, but every player has a struggle that they're fighting. Just like coaches got a family they're leaving behind to spend time with them. So
Yeah.
everybody fighting for something. That's what I would tell. Like that's what I would say. Like from my experience from coaching, it was the extra that I did. And when I tell them players, for example, that because they were brothers, one of them, I said, "Hey man, I need you to run down there, hit them so hard that you bring me their mouthpiece. I need you to hit them in the mouth." He ran down there, hit that man so hard that he grabbed his mouthpiece after he got done, and he tried to give me the mouthpiece. I don't know how the ref didn't see it, but I was just like, man, I just need him to have this energy to go do it. I didn't expect him to do everything because he could have got flagged. But and then I ain't finna touch somebody's mouthpiece and it's just coming out of COVID. It was just disgusting.
Right.
But to see him do that, it was because of the relationship that I built with him off the field. So he was willing to run through a brick wall for me, and so running through a plate wasn't nothing for him.
It wasn't gonna be tough at all. I love that you said it because I tell people all the time through my pleasure of coaching. I know coming on your platform and speaking, we talked about it. When you provide that secureness and that love for those players, they would do it. They would try to do anything for you because they know you care for them, and that's what they need. Like you said, you're building young men and young women, not just players. So you got to think outside of that as coaches. And I'm hoping with the platforms and things that we're developing with that we can transition this culture in some form or fashion to not just look at the money, but look at first the human side, as you said. And as we gear to this and wrapping up, because guys, y'all know we can go on and on about this because we're both passionate and love what we are doing. I hope you guys have been fed because I've been fed up just giving the people one play they can take away from this in life that can help them if you can provide that to the audience.
Yeah, I say never be told no. It's not from a standpoint of, you know, like no, some type of action step. So it's like when you know you're passionate about something, you know you want to accomplish something, you'll never be in a position where you can be told no. It's either it's not the right time, either you didn't have the right people around you to support the vision, or you just didn't go about it the right way. So it's some level of implementing something that could be lasting to agree on having access to a certain thing. So never be told no. Always figure out how to be a professional problem solver. And I promise you, like the not even the sky is the limit because whether or not you believe it or not, I done seen pictures of footsteps on the moon. So I'm like, I'm not finna limit myself to just a star. Like there's a landing pad when you go out there in space. You see what I'm saying? So there's a place for me whenever I accomplish my wildest dream.
Let's go. Never be told to no. And also, where can they find you? How can they look you up and show you love? Please let us know.
Yeah, so you can find me at Josiah underscore on Instagram. If you look up Josiah Kenty, and that's Kenty for the last name, you'll find me. Check out my TED talk. It was a phenomenal experience talking about grieving the game that left. And then also Flip the Culture. Check us out on Instagram. Also our website, fliptheculture.com. So yeah.
Let's go. Y'all got all of it, as well as it will be dropped down in the notes. So make sure y'all look at that. Show us love. Show him love in the comments. Any information or how you want to get connected, if you put it in the comments, I will make sure he get to them. But just show love, you guys. As always, we'll continue to build platforms, not for ourselves, but for the culture. So we thank you guys. I thank you for coming in and just blessing as always. And y'all know how it is on Behind the Door. I always leave y'all with, don't just talk about change. Be the door of the change that you desire to see and have. See you on the next one.